Hello and welcome to Pat Bear's Anime Club's ongoing video series where every other Monday I put a new episode up where I'm taking a look at something from the world of anime or manga that interests me, something I want to do a deep dive on. Could be a genre or a subgenre, or it could be like recommendations of stuff that's coming out the current anime season. Or maybe it's going to be more of a talking head thing where I kind of explore an idea or try to answer a question, like this video, where I will attempt to answer the question, where's all the Bara anime? Because terms need to be described before I really get into this. I've just realized this. I should probably explain that. Before I get into the trying to answer the question, I should define some terms. So, what is Bara? Well, Bara is gay comics, but it is a part of the category of gay comics, manga that is features male gay characters. Because there's queer comics, which is just like the blanket term, and then there's gay comics, and then there's Bara and BL, boys love. Yaoi was just like a term that's kind of out of favor, and one could argue that Bara and BL are also out of favor because a lot of folks, when they're talking about Bara, they are just referring to gay comics, so they just say gay comics. But it is the easiest identifier is the target audience who is believed to be reading this manga, and then later the anime adaptations of said manga. We'll say that BL, Boys Love, is traditionally written and drawn for women. And it's often written and drawn by women. There are gay men that do love BL, and there are gay men and gay women and straight women that make it. But traditionally, your publishers are assuming that the audience for this is women, and it is a lot of times it would be like the gay situations of dojin, gay situations of straight or non-sexualized characters exploring their homosexuality with each other, and as a way for these straight women to either live vicariously through that or explore their own sexuality by reading these stories. Sometimes they are chaste, and sometimes they are heavily implied, and sometimes they are explicit, certainly. But this is where you're going to get your pretty boy anime. I have an example that we'll quickly show here of, you're probably thinking of Yuri on Ice. Yuri on Ice is BL. These are pretty boy, feminine featured characters. They're athletes, but they're sleek, slender athletes. And that's what you're thinking of with BL. And that's what you're getting with anime adaptations. But what about Bara? The more like the manga that is written by gay men with the perceived audience of gay men. Now, there are women who write Bara, and there are women who love Bara, and there are straight men that read all the things I'm talking about. And there are people who are bisexual and pansexual and gender nonconforming and all walks of life. Someone myself who is demisexual, I still read plenty of Bara and plenty of BL because good stories are good stories. Even if I don't see myself in them, hell, I've read a lot of straight fiction, a whole lot of straight fiction, so that's kind of like the main crux of it. The real answer to my question, where's all the Bara anime, is because the perceived audience is small. So the Bara manga is not perceived to be something that would make a lot of money. And it's a business. So you've got to see, okay, are we going to have this anime? How's it going to do in Japan? How's it going to do internationally? Because you got to think globally. So some BL stuff is very popular internationally, so it can work and you can throw it in there. Um, Now, has there been any bar anime? Sort of. We're talking about Yuri on Ice, definitely not. Given, kind of. Every member of the band is gay. Given is fantastic. First of all, I'll just say Given is fantastic, and you should watch Given. There's a dub now, and the voiceover talent is all queer, and that fucking rules. Um, you should check out Given. But Given, hey, look, some of these guys are atypical. I mean, they're in a band, and they're certainly attractive men, but they're a little atypical from your usual BL. They're not feminine or pretty boys. I mean, they're emotionally available to certain degrees, different degrees, but that's kind of the closest we've gotten with Bara. Now, when people think of Bara, they often think of thick boys, big boys, and you're not getting that with this, but you are getting different kinds of boys. Um, it is it when interpreted through the eyes of a Westerner, like I am, obviously, you can you can kind of be like, all right, BL is kind of this flowery, lovely thing in Korean comics and in Chinese comics as well. Although in a lot of Chinese comics, they are very close soulmate friends. They were roommates, is the basic thing. Um, Lifelong bachelors. Whereas in Japan, Japanese comics, manga, you're going to have your boys' love stuff be like relationships and falling in love and heartbreak and sadness. You're getting that in Given. So Given kind of gets close to it. Now, what's a manga that I think your friend Pat would actually get an anime adaptation? If anything was going to get an adaptation that is in the wide category of Bara, and within Bara, there's sports, there's relationships, there's music, there's really messy stuff, there is polygamy and heartbreak and betrayal and parts of a larger story and the focus of the story, and it's like any other subgenre where it contains multitudes. But of all of them, what do I think it's actually going to could break through? It maybe won't, but could break through. That's My Brother's Husband. My Brother's Husband is a drama with comedic elements. It had a mini series live adaptation in 2018. It is the story of a man on the right there who his twin brother, who he was estranged from, passes away. And then his brother's husband, who is a Canadian named Mike Flanagan, appears. And our surviving twin has a daughter who immediately vibes really well with her uncle. And it's him coming to terms with his own insecurities and homophobia and his stereotypes, and also coming to understand what his brother saw in Mike, and it's touching. And Mike is Bara. This is a big, beefy man, Mike Flanagan. We love Mike Flanagan. We do. We love Mike Flanagan. And it's the live action adaptation. Our main guy Ryoji, he's not that beefy, but he's also not a pretty boy. He's handsome, but he's not like manga beefy. But the anime adaptation certainly could do that. So that's a lovely story that I could see getting an adaptation, an anime adaptation of any of them. But the main question that I've gotten on this is audience, and it's, I guess the way to get Bara Anime would be to purchase a lot of Bara manga and make that, so I don't know, go pick up My Brother's Husband, go look for recommendations, ask your friend that reads a lot of manga, hey, what Bara manga are you reading? Like, check in, because sales would indicate interest. And look, the fact that we have queer stories for like of gay representation, of lesbian representation, coming of age stories, older folks, the fact that like a show that doesn't have any queer main characters in it, but will have like, oh yeah, that's my grandma and my grandma. Like that kind of stuff can appear in stories. When it's text and not subtext, it's good. Things are good. The fact that like one of my favorite shows the last couple of years had a trans character that like it was messy how they like talked about it, but it was still there and she's still a beloved character, and it wasn't like she made an appearance to be the trans character. She's like, nah, Lily's one of the girls, obviously. That's fantastic. It is such a breath of fresh air from the presentation of men who are gay in anime being the butt of the joke. I am just certainly there are gay men out there who have 5 o'clock shadows and wear dresses and wigs. They're out there, and I love you very much. But you're the butt of the joke in anime. You're not a full-fledged character. So to see bar representation is something that certainly could happen and would be great. But it does take a lot of push and demand for it. So that's why that's where there isn't Bara Anime because the perceived audience for gay stories is straight women. And look, also, I've said this, should say this again. There are straight women that want their big, beefy, thick boys. They want that. All of this actually video, this kind of like think what could have been a blog video came about because a friend was like, "Hey, I'd be much more interested in giving anime a shot if I saw myself in it. Where's the Bara?" And to be able to say like, well, given as some guys that aren't traditionally pretty boys, like that's what I could give as like a modern thing that he could go watch. That has a dub and subtitles. Like, yeah, I gave manga recommendations, but I didn't give anime recommendations, and I want to be able to do that. Am I missing something big? Let me know in the comments below if there's something that it's like, well, Pat, this is clearly Bara, right? And I'm not talking about like, oh, this was an anime about sumo, because that's subtext. That's not text. So just because they're big boys who are hitting each other in some of your sports anime, that's not Bara. That might be liked by people that love Bara, but it's not Bara. But let me know if there's something I've overlooked, if there's some manga recommendations you have, because people do read the comments, because my comments are fucking great. So please add to that. Let me know what you'd like to see me cover in the future. I'm a little short on ideas right now. So I would love to hear from you, your thoughts on what you'd like to see me cover for the wide world of anime. I guess I probably should get into some South Korean, some manhwa recommendations, especially with like Solo Leveling coming out at some point soon next year, right? Solo Leveling, which is going to be one of the biggest manhwa within anime adaptations. There have been a few. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should look at the manhwa that has had anime adaptations. There you go. That's my next video. Great. I decided it right now. But if you have ideas for future videos, I'd love to hear it. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.